blended makes this a reality. You can see the traditional model and how the flipped model works. We have to think about the top four layers, which says the higher order thinking ability. So we need to have the students and the teachers work together during the school day on these levels of learning. This is what is the need of the hour. And when we talk about this, the new total technology mediated education can be termed as education 4.0 after the first three waves of education system that evolved over 2000 years of civilization. The three waves of education system are nothing but the Gurukula system, one master to a few peoples, then traditional university system, one to many learners, and distance learning, one to very many learners across the spectrum. So this is a good news that the mainstream institutions are willing to move to online, and there's a possibility of habits changing to enable education 4.0. Or are we still being optimistic? We need to ask questions to our own self. I have three questions for all of you to have a think in your mind. Like, online higher education has been around for more than a decade now. It's been there for quite a lot of time. Then why did it not take over the conventional education system in the pre-COVID era? And why is it not a norm already? And when massive businesses have already moved from offline to online in the pre-COVID era, why hasn't higher education not moved to online so long? Let us ask these questions to our own selves. While the inertia and the fiefdom attitude of existing educators are partially to blame, the truth is every industry that has become digital has had its own inertia and the fiefdom hurdles. It is just that the digital brought in a massive wave of efficiency and effectiveness in these industries, and the pure economics and the convenience of it washed away the inertia and the fiefdom hurdles. In digital higher education, there has not been such a wave yet. It is more important for us to understand this, and that is the reason we have not entered into the online education. Let us see the 21st century challenges and needs in India. What are the changes you witness or experience in education? And compare the teachings of your teachers with yours. So as teachers, we have to now do an analysis like, are we living in the same era, same age, but are we teaching the same way our teachers have taught? Compare the effectiveness of learning when you are a student and obtained by your students. So are we doing or giving away the same effectiveness our teachers gave us, and are we doing the same thing without changing anything? That is very important. But we also need to remember that we are in the 21st century, and there is a social transformation that has been happening and happened so far. And how do you think that we can stay with the same teaching methodology? Because one need to understand in which age we are all living in. We have seen this agricultural age, the industrial age in 18th and 19th century, where one need not think of anything new. No, not much of creativity or concepts are required, but in information age, a little bit of knowledge was required. But in the conceptual age, that is in the 21st century, we are dependent on the meaning makers, the pattern recognizers, and creators. We need to have someone with creation and innovation. Those who would like to stay with the routine jobs will be replaced with automation for sure. So this is an age of ideas. One need to understand that in 1 minute, that is in 60 seconds, we see how much of data getting transmitted, and how many things are we learning, and how many things are getting exposed to one place to the other. So the future is about how you use that information. We have a lot of information, we have a lot of tools around, but we need to develop students. We need to develop the citizenship where people should know how to use that valuable information. So that is what is the need of the hour. And we have seen this industry 4.0 coming up in a faster rate with a lot of automation, a lot of technologies coming around, lot of tools are available, but we need to know how to make use of it. We just can't sit with the same routine jobs. So this is going to bring up a lot of new jobs where some jobs will disappear. So to the students and the professors, the teaching fraternity, we need to understand the jobs which were routine in nature, which can also be made to do by an automated machine, will no longer be there for a human being, where human being, we people have some special creativity, thoughts and the thinking abilities. So now we need to make use of that, and we need to know how to apply the concepts whatever we gain. And the knowledge is nothing but just by hearting and writing an exam. We need to know how to apply them for real world problems and situations. And also we have to be a lot of we have to improve our creativity, so that the new jobs will definitely come in millions and millions of numbers. And when we talk about this human capital, the human capital of the entire world or the entire country or the entire city or the entire citizenship or whoever it is, it all depends upon the making use of the skills and the knowledge of a person. So we cannot just hold on with the knowledge what we gain from the textbooks and writing exams and showing away the certificates. Nobody is going to look for your certificates or your marks anymore. People are going to see how you're skilled and how you have gained your knowledge and how you will be able to apply your knowledge to the real world situation. So skill is a particular ability that you develop through training and experience, and that is useful for in your job. So that is what is the need of the hour. And the education system should also focus on how the students are skilled to do any work. And one more thing in education, we need to bring in new practices where we have to eradicate this cramming situation or the cramming practice, and we need to make the students understand what is the meaning of learning. Because view knowledge as a semantic tree. This is very, very important, because it is important to view knowledge as sort of a semantic tree. Students should make sure they understand the fundamental principles, that is the trunk and big branches, before they get into the leaves or the details, or there's nothing for them to hang on to. One should make sure they're building a tree of knowledge. When it comes to learning, there is a difference between material that ends up hanging from a branch and the material that makes up the base of the trunk of the tree. And we need to connect it like a periphery versus the central. Many of us do the opposite. We load up on the periphery effects facts while never fully understand how or why they connect back to the trunk. So this outward facing in method leaves many of our brains overcrowded with misidentified and ultimately unimportant knowledge. So that is not learning, and it's called cramming. So if you want to learn anything faster, you need to start with the materials that make up the trunk. It might be a tad slower at the onset, but without a sturdy trunk, you won't have the base to support any additional learning and skill. So every one of you present here as educators, as parents, and the students, we need to make the foundation stronger. So that is where we need to invest on. And also there's a lot of importance with this knowledge and skills. Knowledge gives you all the answers to the questions of why, what, when, where, whereas the skill alone gives you the answer to the question of how. So we need to emphasize the education system and also bring in a lot of worthy practices where we inculcate these skills right from the primary level. The children should learn from the lower level. And if you imagine a scenario of a war, I'll just give an example. There are three people applying for a job in the army. That is, one is a terrorist. He says, like, I can produce any number of guns. I know how to use them. I know how to handle them. I can lift any weight of the guns and I can shoot. And the next person is an educated person. He says, I'm highly professionally qualified and I'm ready to join here for the war. And third, a person comes saying that I'm educated, I'm well knowledgeable, and also I have the training of how to shoot. So I have the skill. I'm a skilled person. I know how to use the gun, and also I'm knowledgeable. So he can answer the question of why, what, when, where, as well as how. So this is what is the requirement of the today's 21st century. The knowledge cannot replace skill, but skill is a subset of knowledge. And without skills, we cannot survive. So this has to be kept in mind. And the skill gap that is existing should be filled in by the educators only, by the students, by the educational institutions, by implementing the best practices, because the institution goes with a syllabus and they cover only what is there given in the university and write the exams, and they come out with an A+ grade or with a higher mark, saying that I'm graduated, I have the knowledge. But the industry is growing like anything, and it is expecting a lot more from the students, and the gap that is existing between the student knowledge and expectations of the industry is what we call it as a skill gap. And we need to improve this, and we need to see that it is filled. So this is an example I would like to say. The expectations from the industry is far more like the size of the shoe the small boy is trying to wear, because you can see a big gap between his feet and the shoe. So that is what the child is like, the students coming out of the institution with a graduation, and the size of the shoes is what is the expectation of the industry, and we are unable to fit into that shoes unless we improve our skill and make our shoe size of our feet bigger that is expected by the industry to fit into that shoe. So that is what is the gap. We call it as a skill gap. We need to address that in order to have everybody employable, and also they become entrepreneurs and also give employment to all. And all these three skills are very, very essential. And the school curriculum gives us the technical skill, and we also need to improve our human skill and also the conceptual skills, because we are living in a conceptual age. And we educated people are most valuable resource in 21st century. Now we need to have people with ideas who can make the children or the education system to promote its policies in such a way, and also the model to be defined in such a way that we are ready to face the 21st century challenges. And a lot of people have a myth that learners are the same as they have always been, and the same methods that worked for me when I was a student will work for my students now. What if teachers still believe this? And this assumption is no longer valid. This is no longer valid. We have to go beyond that. So that is what is evolving, and we need to really think about today's learners, because the today's learners crave for interactivity. You cannot just make them sit in a class and listen to your lectures. They want interaction. They want to learn more. They don't have patience. They are ready to see the visual images, but they don't have reading skills. They don't have patience to sit and learn and read. They just want to do something hands-on, and they crave constantly for knowledge. They need to learn something new every minute, and the visual spatial skills are much more for the today's learners. And parallel processing is also and inductive discovery so the today's learners look for examples and analogies to learn. And the last but not the least, they have a very short attention span. This is another alarming thing, which is very, very risky. And the technology and the new learner, if you see, by the time the today's kindergartens graduate to grade 12, the information would have doubled at least 7 times, and the technological power would have doubled itself nearly 9 times. So are we ready? So how to teach the new learner? It requires much less emphasis on the amount of material memorized and much more emphasis on making connections, thinking through issues and problem solving. So this is very, very important, and that is what the new learner is expecting. And the most important 21st century skills to be taught are the ability to solve new problems and think critically, and the strong interpersonal skills for communication and collaboration and creativity and intellectual flexibility and self-sufficiency, including the ability to learn new things when necessary. So learner of 21st century, they have only known a world bathed in technology. So technology is their first language, and they technologically enhanced, and much of what they learn occurs outside the school. And the children raised on a diet of new technologies are less willing to fill out worksheets and listen to the lectures patiently. So who should be blamed for the poor quality of education? The bureaucracy, the government, president, or the private sector? But the students say that everybody is blaming us, and the teachers say that they are even blaming us. So that is what is happening. But the students and the teachers are the face of education. And the partnership for the 21st century skill is a public-private partnership organized to create an overall vision of how 21st century skills can be incorporated in the education. Now we can see this is a 20th century education system where we have the core subjects, we have an assessment at the end of these year, whereas the 21st century skills, if you see, you have something additional to that. We have something called as the 21st century tools. They are nothing but the internet, web tools, and also the learning skills. So learning skills are nothing but learning how to learn. And also the core subjects, what we have, and the 21st century context. So one should teach according to the age in which we are in, and also the content. So we need to concentrate on all these things. And the four essential rules of 21st century learning is instruction should be student-centered, education should be collaborative, learning should have a context, and schools should be integrated with the society. So that is very essential. And education is no longer about listening to the teacher talk and absorbing the information, but students will need to be able to acquire new information as problems arise, and they should learn how to learn. And students should know how to collaborate with others, and students should learn how to recognize the different strengths and talents of each person that they can bring to the project. And also learning should have context. As I said, the teacher can make a point of helping students understand how the skills they are building can be applied in their real lives. That is what is very, very essential. And also education needs to help students take part in this global community and find ways of impacting more than just their neighborhood. This is very, very essential, which may not be there in your curriculum. And these are all the 21st century skills, which is mentioned in the World Economic Forum, and they are very, very essential. They are nothing but the foundational literacy. These help in applying skills to everyday tasks, and the competencies, these help in approaching complex challenges, and the character qualities, these help in approaching and adapting to a continuous changing environment. These are very much required, which are to be brought as a best practice in the new changes. And the long-term and the sustainable triumph of this tectonic shift will depend on 7 major elements of online learning, that is creating high quality digitized learning. Subject matter covered in classroom is to be delivered online, but it cannot be a blind replication. And we should also remember that we will have diverse learner groups, because in the classroom, the teacher will have their own strategies to teach the diverse learners, but it is not possible in your online. And also new technologies, including the emerging sciences of artificial intelligence and the deep learning models, are to be added in your curriculum. And also online learning is not about one pedagogical model, but an aggregation of various models. And learning is about gradually inducing changes in the learner's action and behavior. That is very, very important. And also we have to go beyond the blended learning that is going to and should become a norm. That is what is the recommendation for the education practices, where we need to bring this as a norm. And also learning 21st century skills requires 21st century teaching. So make learning relevant to the big picture, teach through the disciplines, and develop lower and higher order thinking skills to encourage understanding in different contexts, encourage transfer of learning, and teach students to learn and address misunderstandings directly, promote teamwork as a process and outcome, and exploit technology to support learning. And does India really have a model for 21st century education? Actually, we were blaming the old Macaulay education system, because that was there to produce cheap clerks and the lower level officers. But we keep on blaming, and we really don't take any initiative in changing that. Actually, many policies may come, but see, in US they have changed the models almost 7 times, and Britain has changed it 4 times, and the Finland has changed 3 times. But in India, we're just bringing new policies, but we need to have a special model to implement all these things. But when we talk about these policies, that it has a roadmap, and it is started in 1968 and 1986, and now we have a new educational policy in 2020, and the government is also increased its expenditure from 4.3% to 6% to improve the education. And also we have two different changes, one in school levels, another one in college level. And in a school level, actually we can see that initially now we have this 10 plus 2. The policy seeks to restructure school curricula and pedagogy in a new 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 design, so that the school education can be made relevant to the needs and interests of the learners at different developmental stages. A foundational stage, that is 5 years, a preparatory stage which is 3 years, and the middle stage, that is 3 years, and a high stage, that is 4 years. So, and then coming to this preparatory, here the medium of expression until at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 or beyond, shall be the student's mother tongue or the local or regional language. The three language formula will continue to be implemented in schools, where two of the languages, three languages, shall be a native to India. And also you have flexibility in choosing the subject after ninth, and there are some levels also, normal and advanced, and the students can choose according to their abilities. And also the final mark sheet will also be, these levels will be mentioned. And one more important thing is, all these optional subjects will become a proper subject, like physical education, music, finance, etc. And we can see that one more important thing which will be adding positivity to the students, that they will be conducting the board exams for 10th and 12th twice a year. So the students need not mug up, they do not fear, and they do not feel that once if they are not able to write the exams due to some medical issues, they can write again, or they can write twice and take the best out of it. And NCERT syllabus is not also going to be revived, and curriculum will be more of analytical and practical oriented, and the vocation education will also be focused, like mechanic, cook, electrician, and all those internships also starts in the school, and more focus will be on the practical front. And if there is no change in approach, it will not be fruitful. Actually, all these policies will be there unless or otherwise we have a model which is going to bring in the changes in the teaching practices. The teachers are to be trained so that we bring in some change, otherwise they will not be able to implement it. And if we don't implement it, there is no point in bringing these policies. So an experiential learning has to be brought in, and you can also see that the gross enrollment ratio is going to be increased in the college levels. That is, after 12th, how many go for the higher education? Actually, it was 25.8% in 2017, and then it went to 26.3% in 18. And now in the new education policy, they are going to increase to 50% by 2035. That is 3 crore new seats to be added in higher education institutions. And you have flexibility of these courses, that because of this NEP 2020 is set to bring drastic changes in the higher education system of India. Through the students can enjoy flexible education options such as a 3-year or a 4-year bachelor's degree, 1-year master degree, exit options, multidisciplinary education. A lot more to add to. And also the new education policy enhances more on cultures and values. I need to underline these things, and it is very, very important. Values are very important for everyone, and the scrapping the old Macaulay system of education is what is going to happen. And the new policy to create an education system that is deeply rooted in Indian ethos and can rebuild India as a global knowledge superpower by providing high quality knowledge to all of us. And this is what is the gist of all these things and the key principles of this education policy. And education is not the learning of facts, but the training of mind to think, said by Albert Einstein, is very, very apt for this 21st century. And stay blessed, my dear viewers. Thank you so much for your patient listening. And any questions or thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. It is a great presentation.